Hey everybody, welcome to Game Off Podcast. This is episode 42. This week we got a fireside chat, and then we're diving straight into our showcase of the week. We got Hades, well-regarded, some say Game of the Year contender, and then we got Ghostrunner, a stylish action platformer. I'm your co-host Brent. I'm your co-host Brent, aka Arcadia, along with
Andy, aka Solid Talker here.
Andy, you didn't like my glowing accolades for Ghostrunner?
You know, it just... I just feel like you're kind of tipping our hands a little bit. I haven't even gotten a chance to say anything.
Well, to be completely open, Andy has not expressed his opinions about Hades yet. I am just expressing what I've known or heard, and
Fair.
I haven't played it yet.
Have you not?
Though I have played
wow.
Ghostrunner. No, it's... I'm glad you have, because I definitely want to play it, but since you have, I can focus on other things. But I really want to play it. It looks really cool. But yeah, we'll talk more about that later.
Yeah.
So, fireside chat. Andy, you had a topic for us?
I did. I was just browsing around through the games subreddit on Reddit, which I guess... it's the only place where there are subreddits, so I didn't need to specify. And I was just thinking...
Reddit.com, right?
Reddit.com.
HTTPS.
Yep. It's very similar to like Stumble Upon or Dig, if you're familiar with those. What would you say...
I'm sure everyone is.
Yeah, we all remember those. What would you say is the best mod you've ever played?
Oh, interesting. I'm not much of a modder, and I had this conversation earlier this week, because Skyrim and most of the Bethesda games support mods on consoles now. Being primarily a console player, when I play a PC game, I don't usually get too into the mods that much. The only two exceptions I can think of are two Warcraft games, not both. Warcraft 3 and World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft, mostly just quality of life stuff, nothing riveting. But I'd say the best mod I've ever used is, I guess, if you'd call it a mod because it's a custom game, really, Dota 2? Or Dota 1, sorry. Dota All-Stars. Dota All-Stars, if I can use that as a loophole. Otherwise...
it definitely feels like it's cheating, but if that's the answer that you've got, that's the answer you got.
We won't go with it. If you think it's cheating, I'll go with that. You're going to be the senior mod lord of the two of us. One of the most impressive mods I've ever used is definitely Deadly Boss mods in World of Warcraft, which literally did your job for you as a raider. So, it was amazing how quickly they had always kept it up to date. Like, it was always up to date with the new content within a day or two. So it was an impressive mod, well supported, well made, very handy. Not all that interesting though. Do you have one that you're thinking of?
Well, there's a bunch that I think of, like, because there's the stuff that you're talking about there, like the quality of life or like making the game more streamlined, like you had for WoW. And I had one of those when I played Payday 2 a lot. There was one called Hawk's HUD that was... I don't think I could play that game again without it. It streamlined things and made the UI and interactions so much more logical and so much more streamlined for when you're playing a lot, the same level over and over and over again. It made things a lot easier that I can't imagine going back to playing without that. And they're same with with all the Bethesda games. Like there was, I think it was Ascuro's Oblivion Overhaul, which completely redid the leveling system to make more sense. So you didn't like accidentally over level because you jumped too much.
Yeah.
And so the similar thing with Skyrim and a similar one with Fallout 3 and New Vegas. The ones that always impress me, though, are the ones that like almost invent new games within games, kind of like what you're talking about with Dota, where you've got for Mountain Blade, not the current one that's still in early access, I think it was Mountain Blade 1 or Warbands, there were a lot of mods that turned it into like a pirate game with ship sailing, or an Old West game with like town raids and bank robberies.
Are there actual ships in that game, or is that like fully custom?
that was fully added in after the fact. People
Wild.
found a way to make use of their thing to have it so you could like move around on the sea and then have small battles, which were basically like the boarding another ship to raid it and to kill everyone on there. Like they did a fantastic job making the most they could out of that engine to build a pirate game, or I think even it might have been Empire at War that had like full Star Wars mods. I'm sorry, not Empire at War. What the Empire Total War. Empire at War is already a Star Wars game.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Was like, so somebody finally made it a Star Wars game?
No, Empire Total War, and
Oh, that'd be very cool.
modded that to be a full Star Wars game, moving fleets of ships around. It always impresses me what people do with mods, and I feel like every time I see a company pushing back against them or shutting them down, it depresses me.
Yeah, who did that most recently? Like I know Bethesda has a sort of web store wrapper that most things have to go through, and they like exert a certain amount of control over that. But there was something that happened recently with that, wasn't there?
I know the last big one I can think of was the GTA Online one, where people had basically done custom games and custom levels and things like that, and GTA Online wanted to crack that down because then you can't sell shark cards if you can just mod in cool cars.
Yeah, on my screen, everything already looks pretty. I don't care if it looks like a Prius on their screen.
And then what was it there? Was it Nintendo who stopped a couple of, was it last year's Game Awards where like best fan made game Pokemon Purple or something like that, or Pokemon Indigo was supposed to be in there, but Nintendo threatened to pull all of its allowing them to use their footage and stuff for the broadcast if they kept that in there. I'm probably botching all of the details, but it was something along those lines.
Yeah, it may have been Smash. I don't remember if it was Pokemon, but that definitely happened with the Smash Project M, I believe it was.
Didn't something happen recently with Nintendo issuing a cease and desist because of the way, like, of that custom ranking and matchmaking thing that people use for Melee?
What?
Oh, God,
I don't know about this.
I'm so far out of my depth here by even attempting to describe what happened. But I believe there's some kind of third-party tool you can use for matchmaking and like ladders and stuff like that in Melee that people have built. And they were going to host a tournament and live stream it for charity. And Nintendo issued a cease and desist on the live stream. I think.
Was it built in? Do you know if it was built into the game itself, or it was just some, like, essentially an API or something?
I really don't know. I'm trying to piece together little bits. You see a news story and you're like, I don't really know what half these words are, but I'm kind of getting a vibe of what this might be about.
Combiguously? That's not a word. Fuck off.
So my brain just kind of filled in the details of like what I thought it might be. So that's it. I'm gonna go with that.
It's another reminder that Nintendo's that friend that you think is chill until you have like a beer or two with him, and then you realize he's a Nazi.
I kind of think of them as like that friend that you when you were younger that you thought was really cool, but was also like a super narc to their own parents. So like you'd be hanging out and having a good time, and then you get home, and then you'd find out that their dad had called your house to like rat on because your friend had told their dad, oh yeah, like we were out back playing with fireworks. I told my dad, and so now you're in trouble too. You're like, what the fuck, man?
Remember how we Googled boobs? Yeah, now
Exactly.
Everyone knows.
I told my dad we looked at boobs, and then now everyone's in trouble. Sorry.
Sorry. Oh God. Oh, to be in my early 20s again.
You were cool like half an hour ago, man. What the fuck happened? This is partially your idea.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. I don't. I wish I used more mods. Skyrim, from what I've been told, it makes the game so much prettier and more playable, and it's already a really great game. And like they keep porting it to new gen consoles, but it's not like they're giving it a full sort of not remake treatment, but like a proper remaster or anything like that. It's just like, oh, this is the Dovahkiin edition. It's like, what does that mean? It's like, well, it's not the old one anymore. Okay.
It really is helped by mods a lot. And not that it needed it, because I mean I think I put like 100 hours into it vanilla, but being able to just it's that niceness that you get on your second or third playthrough, where it's just like, okay, where are all the Berenzia gems? Just mark them on my map, or like allow me to fast travel to my house in Whiterun, not to Whiterun and then walk into it. Just allow me to fast travel to the interior of the house.
God,
all those like smoothing over those things that don't bother you in hours 1 through 30. But when you go to do a second playthrough, you're like, oh, right, I have to do this again.
One of my least favorite things about that style of game and Outer Worlds is perpetrator of this as well, is how they do the save system, where they'll always save prior to loading you into zones. So if you die, you then have to load back in and then press A immediately and then load back in. It's like, I know why they do it. It's because they always start combat right on the other side of fucking doors for some reason. But also, like, I don't mind being thrust back into combat if you have like 3 different auto saves ready for me to back up in case your game bugs out on me.
Yeah, I when you say it that way, I've definitely experienced that and felt the frustration, but I'd never thought of it as like that's the way they do things. But it 100% is. Oh, that was. You know what? I'll say this: the best mod I've ever played was the one in Skyrim that got rid of loading when you enter a city. The doors just open and it loads the city as part of the world map.
Oh god, I forgot it did that. Oh,
that's
mod, a miracle.
Where you could just walk right into a town was incredible. That is the best mod I've ever played. I take back everything I've said.
Checks if you have more than 2 gigs of RAM on the system. Is like, okay, good enough. We can handle this now. God, Skyrim, fix it. What the fuck?
I know, right? Anyway. You ready to tell us a bit about Ghostrunner?
Yeah, I can do that. Ghostrunner. Ghostrunner, forgot the name of the team already. Had it earlier, but it's gone.
Didn't mean to ambush you there.
I believe the team is called One More Try. It's published by 505 Games, and there was a couple other support teams that worked on it. But essentially, it's a hyper stylish first person action platformer. It's a very very much cyberpunk in the era of cyberpunk. There's a lot of techno gobbledygook going on. It takes place in I believe they call it the Tower, and the Tower is essentially like the last bastion of humanity.
Sure.
So yeah. So you're sort of working your way up the tower, not in a clean way like you're thinking. It's not like level to level. Like the levels aren't so clear when you're making progress up the tower or through the level or whatever, but you do like start off sort of in like furnace areas, and you move up to more like residential areas, I guess would be an okay way to call them.
Okay.
But yeah, so a lot of the gameplay loop is really just you running. A voice in your head is telling you what to do. You just trust the voice implicitly. You forgot who you are. I said gameplay loop, but I started talking about story here, so bear with me. And along the way, you meet some allies and enemies, etc., etc., etc. So the gameplay loop is actually essentially in first person, sprinting through corridors, jumping on these walls. It's a lot of wall running, a lot of like little time stop dash things, and a lot of, slashing enemies once you get into combat. My experience with it was probably like 80% platforming, 20% combat, design-wise, but time-wise, it's probably more like 80% combat, 20% platforming, because the game's really built around this sort of Super Meat Boy style gameplay where you die a tremendous amount of times, you get back into the game immediately. I'm sure there's more recent examples than Super Meat Boy, but it is always getting you back into the game in a millisecond, but you're also dying to just the dumbest things all the time. All the time. Stray bullets you don't know where it came from, janky platforming, you name it, you're going to die to it about 100 times. But on that one time, after you've practiced and practiced and practiced, you'll get it all just right, and you'll fly through the level, and you'll kill everyone, and then it'll feel great. But then you remember that you've just had to do that 50 times, and that feeling of like being a god is completely fleeting, like totally gone this second after combat, because then you have to do it all over again. It does a weird thing where it like strings a few combat segments together, and then it'll be like a tremendous amount of platforming for a while. So I think one of the things it should have done a little bit better is let you gestate on like all the practice you just did to get this one level master, and then be like, yeah, that felt good. Instead of thrusting you into another combat where you're just getting killed by God knows what all the time and feeling like a total little bitch. I'm gonna catch my breath. You have any questions?
So, how long are each of these sections, would you say?
So there will be a level, and it'll be longer, but then you'll have it segmented into checkpoints, essentially. But there's very tangible checkpoints, because it'll be like platforming section, combat section, etc., etc., etc. It's not just like autosave popped at this random time. Each checkpoint segment is, if you were just doing the platforming, it's like a minute. But if the combat sections could take like easily 5 to 10 minutes each one, and it's only like 6 or 7 enemies most of the time.
Okay.
So there's a lot of beating your head against the wall. Like when you do it right, it only takes 15-20 seconds to blitz through a combat section.
That, the way you're describing that reminds me a lot of actually Super Hot, in that kind of like very small contained combat section that you have to do a bunch of times before you finally get it right.
Yeah, it's not unlike Super Hot. Obviously, this game is a lot more fast-paced, but
right.
It conceptually, yeah, it's fairly similar to that.
I guess just the as far as like the speed and length of the loop, are the platforming sections equally timed? Is it similar to like 15-20 seconds for platforming? Is it longer than that to nail that, or once you've got it?
Yeah. They'll be more generous with the checkpoints in the platforming sections, but you will be platforming for like several minutes at a time. The platforming, for whatever reason, always felt like the better part of the game. Like it was more cleanly polished. When I was doing, like, obviously if they're gonna build wall running, they're gonna put it in the combat sections, right? So anytime there was wall running in the combat sections, for whatever reason, I was just like always sliding off the wall or missing my jumps and falling into fucking lava and stupid shit like that. But whenever I was doing a platforming section, I was always running through smoothly. Like maybe it was a concentration thing, but there was very few times where I died, and usually I died because I missed like the sort of hook shot point I was supposed to use. I just like jump into random walls and be like, I thought I could run on that, and just die.
What were you playing this on?
This I played on Xbox with a controller, obviously. So yeah, I cannot imagine playing this game on a keyboard and mouse. So don't do that, or do that and prove me wrong. Play it on a Guitar Hero guitar for all I care. But
only if I can use the Donkey Konga controller.
Dude, it always amazes me when like I don't watch too many streams, but every time I see somebody doing like Dark Souls on like a dance pad or Donkey Kongs, I get really excited.
They're so much fun. Like I never get tired of what, even though you watch 5 minutes and you know exactly, okay, so that's how they jump, that's how they attack, that's how they dodge, but it's still just, it's fascinating the whole way through.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I was just watching a lady. She was basically just dodging everything because that's probably the easiest way to play. But it was like amazing that because Dark Soul, like you're on these like really thin platforms a lot of times, and she was just like weaving through all these enemies that were dive bombing her, and she wasn't fighting them. That probably would have been just as impressive. But the fact that she was able to juke everyone,
In
so
Ghostrunner?
impressive. No, sorry, in Dark Souls.
Oh, in Dark Souls, okay.
I would love to see somebody do this game with similarly, yeah. But I cannot. I imagine it's even harder because it is mostly movement based and like a little bit twitchy. A lot of like the cooler things that happened to me were like sort of purely by accident. They have like a deflect mechanic in the game that's absolute dog shit, and I practiced it for ages and it just couldn't reliably get it to work. And it may have been because of how it was coded, or it may have been because of like how like bullets fly through the air really weirdly slow in the future and all this stupid shit. But sometimes you'd get off like a lucky deflect because you're just like flailing your fucking sword around like, I don't know where the guy is. It's just bullets coming at me, and then you deflect one back into his face, and you're like, oh my god, nice.
So does that combat feel good even when you're losing over and over again?
It's hard to say definitively yes or no. I found it very frustrating most of the time, but a lot of it was because like a lot of shoehorned platforming. They had these like shield generators, so you'd have to do a lot of platforming to get to the shield generator and then like slash that because they try and hide it on the level. So you'd have to dodge everyone and run up a fucking wall and do a slingy hoodly-doo across the map and then kill the thing and then make your way back down, all while dodging bullets to get to the guy to slash him. Obviously, you want to do some damage at range, so deflect would be the logical answer, but it simply does not work well. But
okay,
yeah, so it's hard to say. I did enjoy it sometimes when it was simpler. As it increased in difficulty, like the game's jankiness sort of came through, and I like lost interest quite quickly. And then it was because of the combat, not the platforming.
how long is the game? Like, have you finished it?
No, I'm probably only like halfway through. I played enough of the game to talk about it here, but I also played enough of it to know that I didn't want to finish it.
Yeah, not to jump you into your kind of more deeper thoughts, but didn't want to finish it, huh?
That was an actual thought that I had. It's like, I'm just frustrating myself by continuing to play this game. I think I'm done. And I had planned on putting like at least 5 or 10 more hours in it before I talked about it, but I just hit a point where it's like, no, my opinion of it's only going to get worse from here, and I'm not going to enjoy it anymore, so I'm done. I think that's fine for some games.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's not bad. Not every game has to be 70, 80 hours long.
Yeah, I have no guess as to how long it is. I'd guess the campaign is 10 hours, maybe shorter.
How is its integration with stuff like Twitch? 'Cause I feel like this is a very Twitchable game, or like a showing off your leaderboard and showing off your best runs. Is there any kind of integration for that?
Yeah, they at the end of every level, it'll sort of, in my perspective, it'll shame you and tell you how many deaths you had, what your time was, if you collected all the things. So yes, people could definitely stream it and enjoy it, and I think a person who is really good at this game, it would be a really interesting game to watch. If this game doesn't scream to you, and this will just be the recommendation portion, but if this game doesn't scream to you already, you're not going to enjoy it. It's going to be very frustrating. A lot like, I felt really similar to cluster truck. Like, that game was never, ever meant for me. And I knew that 10 minutes into playing it, but I still forced myself to play a couple hours of it. This game wasn't meant for me either, but it was stylistically more along the lines of what I like. Like, I really liked the world that they'd built. I really liked the story they were trying to tell. It was the gameplay that really like took me out of it.
That's okay. Yeah, actually, your comparison to Cluster Truck there makes me not want to play this game anymore.
That's the closest game I could compare it to out of any game I've ever played.
Because I beat Cluster Truck, and I didn't.
Oh, well done.
I don't know why I did. Towards the end, I was not having fun anymore. It was such a it's a game that looked really cool in GIFs, but was not fun to actually play.
That's essentially why I started it too. It's like, oh, look at this wacky game. I gotta give this a go. Oh, I'm miserable. I hate myself. This is terrible. It wasn't necessarily because it's a bad game. Like, I don't think this is a bad game. It is nothing about the gameplay is for me. So, if the game sounds interesting to you, watch a trailer. Make sure you're interested in it. It's kind of expensive. I think it retails for $40. It's not a cheap little indie game. So yeah, do your homework, I guess.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's about it. The music is great. I will note that. That'll be my last thought.
I had meant to ask about that and just completely forgot.
Yeah. That was one of those aspects that drew me in originally. I hear Hades is a very good game. Is this true?
Oh. Yes, all right.
Perfect. Tell us about Hades.
Ready to rank them? Or, more. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to start a little bit, as I usually do, with a bit of background. Give you a little bit of history. Hades is made by a company called Supergiant Games, who are known for the games that they make, like Bastion and Transistor and Pyre. Those are the other three that they've made. I haven't liked any of their games. I knew this was going to come. I knew this was going to happen. Let me finish. Put away your claws for just a second here. I respect their games a lot, and they are very well crafted, and I love that they exist. But I don't have fun playing them. And that is entirely a me problem, I'm assuming. Because I know objectively that Bastion and Transistor were extremely good games that were very well regarded, and I know that Pyre was also well regarded with Magic Basketball. I know that one didn't hit the same heights as Bastion and Transistor, but I couldn't tell you why I didn't like Bastion. It just didn't click with me. Same with Transistor. Just didn't click with me. Very good game, though. Hades is the first Supergiant game that actually did work for me on some level. So that's why I want to give that background, because I am not in any way a Supergiant fanboy. I've not loved their previous games. They're not bad. They weren't for me. Hades is at its base, it's a roguelike dungeon crawler-esque game. You play as Zagreus, who is the son of... He's the prince of the underworld, and he's trying to escape the underworld and get away from his father. I forgot his father's name there for a second, but it's the name of the game. It's Hades. And reach Mount Olympus, where all of the other gods at the time are there, and they want you to come because they think you're cool, and they think your father's a dick, and they want you to come to Mount Olympus, and they give you all sorts of boons and gifts and things like that to help you in your quest to get out of your dad's house. Which is something we can all relate to and understand.
Oh yeah, the most relatable game.
Yeah. There's 4 levels or 4 areas. Tartarus, Asmodeus. It's not Asmodeus, but it's a word that's like that. And then the other 2, whose names I don't know because I only got to. Yeah, it's not
Asmodeus.
Yeah.
Ozymandias?
No, they're realms of the underworlds. I don't remember any of them. I think one of them has to do with the River Styx. Yeah, look, I'm not going to pretend that I've beaten this game. I haven't beaten this game. I'm not very good at this game. I've played a good deal of it. I've put in my time, so you can't say that I haven't. I've put in about 20 hours. So again, you can't claim that I didn't do that, but I'm not very good at it, so I haven't gotten very far.
You can't just leave the game up for 20 hours and alt tab and watch you'rethemannowdog.com.
God damn it, I told you to take those cameras out of my basement. That is, there's no way you could have gotten that close to correct unless you had cameras in my basement again.
Well, we'll worry about that later.
Yeah. It'll just point them. I mean, I need my time. But the point is, you are Zagreus. You're going through, and it's your standard kind of dungeon crawling of you progress through each area, room by room. Each room has some kind of boon or reward at the end when you've defeated all the enemies within. Standard formula. You've got a bunch of different weapons that you can pick from. There's a cool sword. There's a shield thing. There's punching. There's a spear. There's a bow and arrow. There's a gun. All things that you associate with ancient times. Each of those plays differently. You know, you've got each of them has a different play style, and whether or not you pick certain weapons can give you certain boons. Like, oh, here you haven't used the bow and arrow in a while, so if you use it this run, you get a little bit more of the currencies in game to upgrade things. There are upgrades in between runs where you can upgrade both the underworld and your experience through it, changing your rewards, how difficult things are. All that's really cool. I think the thing that stood out for me with this game, other than just how gorgeous it is, because it is a fucking gorgeous game. Everything that Supergiant makes is beautiful, and this is no exception. I think this is one that actually looks better when you play it than it does in screenshots. In screenshots, when I first saw it, I didn't even buy this game. This was given to me by a friend who was, I think, angry that I hadn't bought it and wasn't playing it. And so he said, like, look, I know you don't want to buy this because you haven't liked any of their other games. I'm just going to give this to you because I think you're going to like it, and you're too stubborn to buy it yourself. Which he was right, and I did like it. But it's a gorgeous game. It looks better playing it than it does in screenshots. I can't remember what the hell I was talking about. Oh, the thing that stands out. Yes, I remember now. The thing that stands out for me most is these people that you can talk to during your runs and in between runs back in the underworld, where people like the the gods like Artemis and Apollo and Sisyphus and some other names that I'm not going to try to pronounce because I've only ever read them. I've never heard them pronounced out loud. Or if I did, it was in Hercules, and that was like 20 years ago, so it doesn't count. Eurydice? Anyways, there's a bunch of people you can talk to, and as you talk to them, you can develop relationships with them, and it kind of, you have this kind of generated story that plays out based on who you're talking to, and when the gods kind of interact with each other during conversations as far as who's giving you more favor and who you've been talking to more and who you've been giving more gifts to. The story plays itself out that way very interestingly. And that's entirely on you to do. You can just not talk to them, and you'll miss out on a lot of upgrades and content because of that, but you can just not talk to any of these gods as you're going through and just go on your next run and ignore that whole story. Everything that's going on, all of their interactions, their little petty squabbling and bitching about each other and bitching about your dad. It's very much like you're dealing with a bunch of aunts and uncles that all think that your dad is a dick, and they're all trying to help you move out. But they also don't want to piss your dad off too much, and they know that like you've kind of got a weird relationship with your dad anyways, so they don't want to fuck with that. Like, it has that kind of dynamic and feel to it where they're all trying to outdo each other and trying to be number one in your eye and be the one that you want to go with, and
the cool aunt.
Yeah, exactly. And because they are the ones that are kind of bestowing on you your upgrades during a run of, okay, now your attacks do this kind of almost like a poison damage, or when you dash, the area that you dashed from, it now slows everyone down for a couple of seconds, or you can shoot these things out that shoot lasers. Those all come from the gods. and how they meld together and how you combine them, like in a good roguelike, creates really interesting builds that you kind of accidentally get as you're going through. So that system of gods and talking to them and currying favor and them winning your favor is what set it aside or set it apart from something like Binding of Isaac or Rogue Legacy or Bionic Dues or something like that.
So you don't have much power over the buffs they give you? You just sort of go and chat with them and they just throw some random stats at you?
Okay, yeah, I should explain that in words. So what happens is when you pick up a little Artemis icon or an Apollo icon or whatever, you're given 3 things that you can pick from. How you want their favor to affect your run. Do you want it to affect your primary attack, your secondary attack, your dash, your summon cast ability? And so you kind of build yourself out that way. When you're leaving many rooms, you have the option of going one way or another. I didn't explain any of this well. It's all linear, so you can't go backwards. You're always choosing just what's the next room you're going to go into. And then after you go in a certain number of rooms, you get to the boss for that area. As you're leaving a room...
So there's no boss room? You just sort of do X number of rooms and then boss appears?
Oh, there is a boss room, but it's kind of like after you've gone through enough rooms, now the only option is the boss room.
Oh, okay.
As you leave many of the rooms, you have the option of go into this room where the reward is more gems or more gifts to give to one of the gods. Or you can go into that room over there, which is another boon from Apollo, or another of these little crystals that you use to upgrade your areas in between, or a key that you use to unlock new unlockables. Like, you're kind of choosing how your build is going, but only in certain ways. You can't control the amount that it gives you, and you can't control like what is behind that door that you have to fight to get that reward.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of trade-off stuff, a lot of like, do you want to take this additional challenge for additional reward? There are areas that you'll go into where you can pick, okay, I have to pay 20 health to get in here, and I have the option of picking one of these 3 boons that's going to suck for 3 rooms, but if I can survive 3 more rooms with this, like, I take 3 extra damage, or I have half as much mana. Not mana, the casting things. Mana's the wrong word. But, I have... No, they're individual casting things. So you start off with 2 of them that you can cast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've not explained any of the systems in this game well, so I apologize. There are these little casting things that they're like crystals, and you throw them, and they can get stuck in enemies, and they're stuck in there until they die, or you have to go pick them up. So they don't like charge back up until you either pick them up yourself or leave the room. It's interesting. But anyways, like there's a bunch of things that will debuff you for a couple of rooms, but then give you a good permanent upgrade if you survive those couple of rooms.
And from the screenshots I've seen, the rooms are pretty fucking big, aren't they?
Some of them, yeah. They take, a couple minutes per. It's not like... I can't think of a game to compare it to that has larger rooms.
Well, I was thinking the opposite. Like, a lot of times when you hear rooms, you sort of think of like Legend of Zelda rooms, like the old school ones, just like little squares. Basically, you run in and you kill like 2 things, and then the door opens.
No, it takes a couple of minutes to go through each one. They are larger than your screen. As you move into later areas or parts of the underworld, they are even larger than that. The earlier ones are a bit more compartmentalized and more obvious, like, this is a room that you're in, and here are the bounds of it, and all that. But yeah, they are larger than like a Binding of Isaac's room or something. Or
Gotcha.
Actually, no, Enter the Gungeon didn't really have rooms like that. It was a bit more free flowing.
Yeah. There were doors and stuff, but you could go back and forth, and those are pretty big rooms too.
Yeah, I would say it was kind of like those little areas in Enter the Gungeon where like you're in there, it might take you 2 minutes to clear out everything in there as like you kill some stuff, and then a second wave spawns and you kill that second wave, but more sequential. This is the room, you're in it, and then when you move on, you've moved on, and that's it.
Interesting.
I know that there's a ton more that I haven't seen. It's as far as like different unlocks for weapons, other aspects of gameplay that I've not even run into yet. So I know that I'm not, despite having played the dozens of hours that whatever it was I claimed earlier, I've not actually seen all the content there. So this is a game with a lot in there, and with the number of awards that it's been nominated for and the top 10 lists it's been put on, it clearly is a very well-regarded game that people are putting a lot of time into and getting a lot of time out of.
Okay, so my claws aren't fully withdrawn yet.
Okay,
but I'm not going to go back and dwell on the past.
Sure.
I don't know how you don't love Bastion.
It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. The narrating mechanic is super cool. I just didn't have fun playing it. That's all. Like, every other part of it was really cool. The world, like flying up under your feet and everything, that was all really neat. I just wish the gameplay was different.
Oh.
No complaints. It just didn't work for me.
We're all allowed to have our opinions, I guess, no matter how wrong they are.
Yeah, that's true.
Tier. Yeah, so you said you kind of liked it. So in your 20 hours of gameplay, how far do you think you got in it, and B, how much did you actually enjoy it, and would you recommend it?
So I don't think I got more than maybe a third of the way through, based on what I've seen of other people and the amount of end game and late game stuff that happens.
That's a lot of game.
Yeah, it is. It definitely seems like it is. I have no idea, because I don't experience it, and it's not like a game like, I keep bringing up Binding of Isaac, but it's just that's the most recent roguelike I've played, where you can look at your big like checklist of, here are all the things you could have unlocked, and you've got 63% of them. Like, it doesn't have that same kind of very obvious, or if it does, I didn't look at it. So I'm not going to say I didn't look too deep into the stats area of things, because I was very bad at the game and I didn't need to be reminded of that.
So it is mostly roguelike then? It doesn't have any like persistent stat gains?
Well, it does. You are still you're still unlocking things that change the structure of the underworld run after run, and making changes. Kind of like Rogue Legacy.
Okay.
Actually, and on that, I will bring up something that is really neat that they did. Is their, I guess, almost like an accessibility feature for tweaking the difficulty. And basically, the way it plays is every time you die, you get a permanent plus 2% to damage resistance. So even if you suck at this game, even if you're sucking at the Twitch thing, every time you play through, you are getting slightly better.
Okay.
Which is
it possible to just grind that out and get like full resistance?
I honestly don't know. I didn't get that far into it. I turned it on just to play around with it a little bit. So I've not maxed it out yet. I've not attempted to, but I thought that was a really interesting thing to add in. Like, that's just such
kind of cool
for a game like this. Like, it's not giving you the game. It's not making it infinitely easy for you, but just saying like, look, this is going to give you that sense of progression that you want in a game like this, even if you didn't actually progress this run because you fucking suck or your controller died.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a pretty fucking neat feature, honestly.
Yeah, I like that. I like the number of games that are working more of that granularity in difficulty settings in, and kind of letting you, like, okay, we've tailored this. This is the way we think it should be played. This is the way that we think Nightmare Mode should be played. But if you want to tweak this a little bit, you can do that. And actually, Control did that as well. They had a lot of really interesting difficulty tweaks in there that you could do. But yeah, there is that persistence both in something you can toggle, and run to run, you can spend gems and keys to unlock more things and to boost certain stats.
Okay, cool. All right. That makes more sense. Or at least that paints a bigger picture.
Yeah. And your second thing was, did I enjoy the game? I did enjoy it, but I didn't get, like, it was the kind of game where I went into it and I would play a run, and then I would lose and say, okay, and I'd turn it off and play something else. I never had that, I have to play another run that I do with other roguelikes. And that's where it felt a little disappointing to me. And I can't blame it on anything in particular in the game. It just didn't grab me in that way, where I felt like I had to jump back in and do it again. Whereas like my friend who bought me the game was talking about that, and for a couple of weeks that was what he was doing. He was just playing this game and doing run after run after run. And a lot of the reviewers that I follow and have read in preparing for this conversation here have talked about how they had that gotta do one more run, gotta do ended up playing 15 runs in one evening, which I can't imagine how many hours that took. But like it never had that hook for me. I was fine playing one run and turning it off. So that was a little disappointing just in my thing of it. It's very fun. It's kind of unimpeachable with its gameplay mechanics. Like it's very clearly well designed, very well balanced. It just didn't hook me the way that it did seemingly everyone else.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that though. Like if you're willing to boot up the game over and over again, like obviously you're enjoying it, right?
Oh yeah.
Like there's so many games where you'll do one run and then you'll be like, I don't want to do another run right now, and then you'll just never play it again. And
that's what ended up happening with me with like Fall Guys. Fall Guys, I would by the end of it jump in, play run, I'm like, all right, that's done. I don't need to play that again.
Yeah. And uninstall.
This I do boot it up most nights and play through another run, and then I stop and go play something else. Which it says something about it, because I'm clearly not disliking it. I'm liking it enough to keep installed and keep booting up over and over again, but it's hitting like a cap, and it's not arching over that to be, all right, I'm just playing Hades this evening.
Yeah. So how long does a typical run take? You said you played 15 runs?
When you suck at it, 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how long a complete run takes, because I've never done it, but...
Oh, fair enough.
I would imagine that it probably... I'm guessing here, like 20 minutes per biome, so maybe an hour and a half for a full run, based on complete conjecture.
Yeah, no, that seems pretty standard.
Yeah. It's a great game. It's a very well-made game. Supergiant continues to make games that are beautiful to look at, very smooth and intuitive to play, and very clearly well thought out. I would recommend this to anyone who likes roguelikes or who likes... Actually, man, if you don't like roguelikes, you're going to fucking hate this game. But if you like...
Yeah, wait. Yeah. If you hate top-down games...
Yeah.
Don't play this.
If you like roguelikes, you're going to like this game. This is a gold standard in roguelikes now. I would put it up there as one of the things when you're like if you were putting together a video games textbook and you were doing the section cover page for the section on roguelikes, put a screenshot of Hades in there, because this is now a gold standard game that every game after this is going to be compared to. Without a doubt in my mind.
Yeah,
this is
that's not such a bad thing.
No, it's not. It's not. It's a hell of an achievement, and everyone seems to love it and be impressed by it. What else can you ask for if you're Supergiant?
More money.
Yeah, more money. I mean, I assume it's been selling well. I don't really know.
Yeah, I think it has.
I feel like video games, like PC games, don't put out that information anymore.
Yeah, with this game more than most, though, you could probably rely pretty well on the Steam stats, because I think that's the main marketplace it's been on. I don't think it's on consoles yet. I'm not sure about that.
All right, so apparently within during its 2-year early access period, Hades sold 700,000 copies. And within 3 days of its official release, it sold an additional 300,000 copies. So it's doing all right.
Oh, wow.
Doing okay.
That's a lot of software for an indie game.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Not a lot of indie games push those numbers. Good for them.
Oh, sir. Yeah, that's only 3 days, and it's getting more and more acclaim by the day. It was nominated at the Game Awards, which probably shouldn't talk about because this episode will be out after that airs. Did it win? Let us know. We don't know.
There's I feel like this is going to be like this year's what the hell was the one about the drunk cop? Can't remember its name.
The drunk cop
from last year.
Disco Elysium.
Like this will be this year's Disco Elysium. Just like it's going to sweep those
Prestige
awards.
nom.
Yeah. Or maybe it'll be more like this year. It'll be like the game equivalent of Schitt's Creek. Just like best
Here
indie
it comes out of nowhere.
goes to Hades. Best voice acting goes to Hades. Best script goes to everything goes. And they deserve it. It's a great game.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to playing it. You haven't shifted that opinion.
Good.
I already had that opinion. So I guess that's a
I know you're a Supergiant
recommendation.
Fanboy anyways.
Yeah. I'm a Bastion fanboy. I have 2 Bastion prints in my office. I have the Bastion vinyl. I've beaten Bastion
great soundtrack.
many times.
Great soundtrack.
It's so good. I have never played Pyre. I barely played Transistor. Those Transistor didn't click with me, so I never really got into it.
I used to confuse Transistor with what was that? One of the many failed unreleased Double Fine games, the one where you could keep coding the game while you were playing it.
Oh, I don't know. That does not sound familiar to me.
Hack and Slash.
Oh, I've heard of this. I've never played it, nor do I know anything about it.
It was a cute little gimmick that I don't think they ever It was another Double Fine where they did it in early access and people were interested in it, and they didn't really execute on it. They didn't stick the landing.
Yeah.
But I remember that one being it came out around the same time as Transistor, and I confused the two constantly.
I don't know how, but yeah. Sometimes that happens.
It just, I don't know. That was a really boring anecdote.
There are these 2 games. I didn't know which one was which.
Dustin, feel free to edit that entire thing out if it's as boring as I think it is.
Thanks, Dustin. Yeah. All right, well, shall you rank this? I've already decided where mine goes.
Why don't you tell us where yours is going while I install.
Okay, fine. I'm going to put it at 12 out of 16 on the year, just below Final Fantasy VII Remake and above Watch Dogs Legion. Also, I've decided to note that we did Watch Dogs Legion. Oh, I did Watch Dogs Legion in my last episode. Our last episode. Oh, I'm babbling. And I said a lot of things about it that I didn't like, and I wanted to add one more, and it's an important one because there's a game save bug in the Xbox version, and I can no longer progress in the game. I did 4 story missions back to back, and it saved none of the progress. So, if we allowed for editing afterwards, I would drop it all the way to the bottom and tell no one to ever buy it, ever. So definitely do not buy it now. If you're interested in it, at least wait for a patch. If you're not interested in it, just don't support this game. It's maddening. But yeah,
that's real disappointing and sucks for that you hit that level.
Yeah,
that level of brokenness.
I was chugging along there. I was actually starting to see some of the silver lining in the game, and then it just came crashing down once again, as it Watch Dogs do.
All right, I'm gonna put Hades at number 4 on my list. It is
number 4.
Number 4. It's really good. I don't think I'm gonna get as much. I talked about Crusader Kings so much with friends and family, and just I wanted to tell people about what was happening in Crusader Kings, and I wanted people to play it because I think they would have enjoyed the emergent storytelling. Whereas Hades is also really good, but I didn't really talk to anyone about it other than you.
It's your private perversion.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm your weird friend you have to tell about.
Yeah, I'm required to tell you every couple of weeks about what games I'm playing. I have to report back in.
I'm glad to be that guy for you.
I hope you enjoyed hearing my report as much as I enjoyed giving it.
C-. Do I get to grade you?
Yeah, absolutely. Someone should. Someone needs to put me in my place and show me my worth.
Okay, C+. You made me sad.
Yes. Can't believe it still
All right,
works 15 years after high school.
Well, the trick is the teachers were all sad too.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was just the
Just
town
need
they
to level
lived
with
in.
them. Well, there's a lot to be sad about in high school.
Yeah, it's hard to... I gotta imagine it's very depressing trying to get a bunch of spoiled rich kids to give a shit about William Carlos Williams' poems.
Do you guys want to hear about struggle? No. We're affluent. Fuck off.
My idea of struggle would insult and shame you.
Well, our weekly shout out to
Whoa. Yeah.
Cut it out. Cut it out. Dustin.
Or Dustin, just bleep it if you could bleep that.
All right. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and literally every fucking place for podcasts. Just game off podcast at everything. Look it up. Like, subscribe. That's the thing that helps us the most.
Yep, that feeds the algorithm, puts juice in the algorithm engine. I don't know how engines work.
Yeah, well, they make a car go vroom.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah, they do.
Unless it's a Tesla, then it makes car go. That was
That's so good.
not one of the better ones.
No, that was
All right.
nailed it.
Okay, well, I've been Brent, Arcadia.
I've been Annie Solitalker. Man, it's forgot there.
Well, we'll see you guys in a post-cyberpunk world. Bye-bye.
Bye.